Hi everyone, welcome back to Between Shelf and Screen. I'm Alex,
And I'm Ryan.
and today we are doing the movie review of American
Of,
Psycho.
of Alex.
hmm
Yeah. You want to give a little insight into your mind?
Oh yeah, me as Patrick Bateman.
I
Um,
thought you were Ryan Reynolds. Have we mentioned
oh,
that
it's
on the
it's
podcast?
it's the same thing. Like
Wait,
I go by multiple
I thought
identities.
he was in Barbie.
Yeah,
Can you
I am Kenough,
can you
and
be
he's
Knuff
literally
when
me.
you're Patrick Bateman though?
Yeah, I mean when you're an Ultra Sigma Giga Chad, anything's possible, and I happen to be that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so was Ken then.
Yeah,
Were you like the same character, kind
I
of
was
like?
Kenough. Margot Robbie
Anyway,
is my girlfriend, and so is
don't
Anna
think
de
that's how it
Armas.
works. Is that the actress? No.
She's the one in Blade Runner.
Oh.
I think she's more attractive than Margot Robbie.
Where did this even come up? Is she an actress in the Barbie movie? I haven't seen
No,
Barbie.
but it's
You
like
just decided that
it's
was.
a meme. Like in the Blade Runner movie, like she's like super attractive, and then everybody's like this says like, oh, I'm Ryan Gosling. They'd be like, and that's my girlfriend.
I have never heard that. I think you're making it up. You're trying to cheese me
Okay,
right
well,
now.
yeah, I mean, I can make up that that's a thing, but
I thought you
she's
would've
my
wanted-
girlfriend. She's my girlfriend.
I thought you would have wanted Reese Witherspoon to be your girlfriend.
Oh, she also is,
Okay, yeah. Patrick Bateman.
and Margot Robbie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, noted.
Yeah.
So today we're going over the Ryan Reynolds adaptation of American Psycho. Don't know if you guys have seen it. It's super underground, and
Yeah.
it's actually exclusive to us.
Yeah, only us. We'll give you the review before it comes out, spoilers and all.
Do you think Ryan Reynolds would have been a good Patrick Bateman?
Honestly, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, he's like good range. I think he could do it.
What's something similar that he's been in? Like a similar character? Because I don't think Ken is enough.
Okay, I don't think I've seen him in the one movie, but it's the movie where he's like all tatted up, and like he rides dirt bikes a lot. He's supposed to be a villain in that.
Okay, I don't think
Yeah.
I've seen it either.
I think he like robs banks or something.
Weren't you in it?
Yeah, I don't really remember too much of it. It's a dark point in my life.
Okay. I shouldn't be laughing about that though.
Yeah. all right. Let's get into the movie review. Anyways, Christian Bale,
Yeah.
perfect Patrick Bateman. I don't even.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine anyone else.
Yeah, like Leonardo DiCaprio. Like no.
I know we were looking up the like people that were chosen before Christian Bale, which he was literally begging to get that.
Yeah.
Which is
yeah.
so funny. Like he called one of the. I don't remember who it was, but he called one of the actors that was chosen before him and was like, don't accept the role.
Yeah. Well, so a lot of actors beforehand didn't accept it because their agents were like, "This is career suicide." Because I'm guessing they read the book, and if I would have read the book and been an agent, I've been like, "Don't do that."
Yeah. With
Because-
how much heat it got.
Yeah, but Christian Bale is like he don't care.
I'm surprised this movie got as much attention as it did with all the controversies revolving around the book.
Yeah, but I mean, like, granted, like the director, I think okay, I actually liked it more than the book.
Yes,
I did
absolutely.
too.
I agree.
Because like the book's great. It's just not an enjoyable experience. It drags on. Like there's a lot of fat in it, and like it does what it's supposed to, and I admire it for that. But it's not a fun ride. However, the movie is pretty fun. Like,
Yes.
and it's also hilarious.
Yeah,
Like
and
at
I
many
think
points.
it wasn't trauma dumping. Like it
Yeah.
only included the necessary parts to get his character across, while the book just like shoved everything into your face and was like, okay, accept this.
Yeah.
This is who he is. And I was like, we got that the first time,
Yeah.
and they only had like. They literally cut it down to like so many less victims too,
Right.
Or supposed, which I can't wait to talk about.
Yes.
Kind of who was because there's a lot of theories about
Yeah.
who was actually a victim and like all that.
Yeah, I watched a lot of reviews on the movie and the book beforehand because because I'd seen the movie already and I wanted to like know if there's any theories that maybe some like might be kind of interesting. But then I heard what the author said, like behind it all,
Right.
and he basically explained it like this, like he's like when I wrote it, I wasn't interested in like if he was experienced psychosis or like everything actually happened. He's like I wasn't interested in the answers.
Yeah.
He said that was just kind of like a background thing. He's like,
Yeah.
I was just more interested in like the character and what he was doing and the people around him, all that stuff. Like pretty much everything other than that. He said, and I think it's his way of going, it's not that important.
Right. Yeah. I feel like the movie took it in a different route though, where it
Definitely.
was like a plot point.
Yes.
Like something that they were actively thinking about. And I think they did a better job of kind of including that. I mean, the author, as you said, wasn't actively including that because it wasn't in the foreground of his thoughts, but the movie like really made that like a point. I don't know, it was trippy watching it.
It was, and like,
it was so good.
my God, okay, now that I've seen Christian Bale be Patrick Bateman, like, why would they even think of hiring anybody else?
I know.
Because he's so perfect.
I know.
He is so perfect at that character. You could tell. I feel like you could tell he's kind of a fan.
Yes, 100%. You could
Because
tell
he gave it his
wanted that.
all. Like, and it was so, like, he hit the really funny comedic beats.
Yeah, I don't think it would have been as popular as it was if he wasn't Patrick Bateman.
Like, his speech pattern is just hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like
he played it so well, like down to a T.
When he's crying on the phone, he's just like, I'm just kind of a sick man. It's so funny, like, but it's dark. It's very good.
Right. He did such a good job balancing all of it, where like you, even though it was like a dark situation, like you would still laugh during it.
Yeah.
I don't know, because just his attitude and everything, and the timings of things, and so out of touch he was.
Yeah, like,
it was so.
and that's definitely like, it's definitely brought to the forefront in this film. I feel like, because like in the book, he kind of blends in with the others, and like it seems like he is not that much different other than being like a psychopathic murderer, like in his like own little life.
Right. All the other guys that he hangs out with are just as messed up.
Yeah, just as weird and like
the
out
only
of touch.
thing that's different is they just don't murder people from what we know.
Yeah, but they could. Who knows? But like in here, you could definitely tell the difference between.
He did not fit in.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Oh my God, one of my favorite quotes is when like they were talking about like oh yeah, they were saying like some racist things about Jewish people, and then he goes, just cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks. Like that's my favorite.
The way
thing.
that his voice, like the tone he would do throughout it,
Yeah,
was just so good. Like it seems like such a minute. I don't know.
It's such a like that's how like well, granted I did see the movie first
Yeah.
a while back, so I knew how like that is kind of who I imagined while reading. But like I feel like that's the only way it could be acted.
Because it's condescending.
Yeah, it's condescending, and he's just like, he's perfect. He's like speaking in business for everything.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, he's just playing a part.
Yeah.
It's just no one talks like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even his friends.
Perfect.
But yeah, I love
it. It seemed like he was acting, but I don't even know how to explain this. Gosh, this sounds so weird. But, like, you couldn't tell that he was acting because he fit the character so well.
Yeah.
But the character itself was acting as this normal person. Like, it's so good.
Yeah. And, like, I mean, they also had Willem Dafoe in the cast.
I did
Leto.
not realize how many, like, names that they had. Because they also had Reese Witherspoon, a couple other people, William Dafoe.
Yeah, and
Jared Leto.
I
did not recognize Jared Leto.
Yeah. And it's funny because they do look a lot like they look very similar, like him and Christian Bale.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, like, you know, besides Jared Leto being a douchebag, like he's not a bad actor.
No.
He's
I never got that. Like people hate it. Well, I never got people hating on him for his acting because I never thought he was. He just had some weird parts later in life.
Yeah, I think all the hate really came from him as Joker.
Yeah,
he was
100%.
the worst Joker there ever was.
Yeah, but like I think that was a movie. Like that wasn't a him
choice.
thing.
It was like stylistic choice and him just oh my God getting. I just remember seeing like the tattoos that he had, and it just said "ha ha ha" as a tattoo. It's so lame.
Yeah, but like that had to be mostly the movie, though. Like,
absolutely,
he didn't make his own choices with the Joker, but they probably guided him. Like we want him to act like this.
Yeah, but you could see in interviews that he really did think he was doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's just like, I had so much fun making this movie. You guys are gonna love it. And then people saw it and were like, this is terrible.
Well, all the other Jokers like hated themselves afterwards
Yeah.
because it's like a hard part.
Yeah.
And he didn't
It's kind of
really
cursed.
have that.
Yeah,
right?
well, his character, I mean, Joker's notoriously dark.
Yeah.
But his character was like edgy, sad boy, crazy.
So at least he hit one plus. He just was like, okay.
Yeah, he's like, he had fun doing
He
it.
didn't get destroyed, yeah. All the other ones are like, yeah, I never viewed life the same.
Yeah, Heath Ledger,
And
rest in
he's just
peace.
like, ha 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 ha. Did you see those tattoos?
It's like, it's funny, laugh, laugh. But then Margot Robbie was a good Harley Quinn.
I thought that was...
Yeah, it's Margot Robbie.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, she was like the only
yeah.
redeeming factor of Suicide Squad.
She was good.
Anyways, we're getting off topic. But yeah,
we
Christian...
need to read all the Suicide Squad comics and then watch the movie.
Oh, yeah. But, okay, yeah.
Yeah, back to the point.
Patrick Bateman, Christian Bale, perfect. Christian Bale is just a goated actor. Like, one of the best of all time.
100%.
And he nails any role that he does. I mean, have you seen, like, his weight loss transformations for, like, these movies?
Mm-mm.
He went from, like, I think for, like, The Dark Knight, he was, like, 210, like, pretty, like, swole.
Yeah.
And then for one role, he went all the way down to 120 pounds because he was acting as an anorexic guy. And he, like, you just look at him in both and you're like, whoa, it's crazy. And then he got super fat for a role. So he was like 230, like, actually fat.
I cannot.
Like, he goes through, like, crazy weight loss transformations for these roles. But, like, he didn't really have to do too much of that for American Psycho. I think he just kind of cut.
Yeah, he was a little cut, but it wasn't anything crazy. That one, this isn't really a spoiler, but the one scene where he's just like looking in the mirror with the other girls.
Oh, yeah.
It was so funny.
Yeah.
That was not in the book.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
just
but it's so
flexing in the
Patrick.
mirror.
It's so Patrick Bateman.
And the other girl's just like rolling her eyes.
Yeah.
Anyways, there was a few scenes that the movie added that were different.
Yeah,
and
with the cat.
Yes, yeah.
That was hilarious. I'm like, what? That's when I think that scene's important because then you pick up on everything forward. It's like, okay,
the way that his mind's acting and telling him,
feed me straight cat. And then he picks up the cat and points a Glock at it. You're like, what's happened?
Yeah, the
so
ATM's
funny.
telling him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And then there's just some random lady like, you can't do that. And he just goes... just shoots her. It's like, what's going on? But I mean, in the book, it's like pretty much the same. Like you get like, I don't think that minor change really mattered because in the book it's pretty much the same. He just sees a delivery boy and he's like,
oh yeah, like,
you know?
I think it really carried the same message, and it cut out a lot of the stuff and it still didn't change anything.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't really. The homeless guy with the dog. I'm really glad they didn't go too deep into that because
I was scared. I think you sent me a text as it was like approaching as he first started talking, and I was like, I'm scared now. I don't know if I should be. I don't want to like give you how I'm feeling, or like I don't want to say how I'm feeling right now about the movie because I'm saving it, but also I'm like scared and I don't want to continue this part. But it really didn't. It really didn't show anything that it didn't need to, and that was one of the things where you can assume how he treats that homeless man.
And then, like
the dog.
And like in his confession on the phone, like you kind of gather that too because he's like, this is the amount of people I killed, maybe more. I don't know. Yeah,
which perfect way to handle it.
Yeah.
Because you still get the same exact taste without any of the gruesome parts.
Yeah.
And they did cover everything that was in the book through that phone. So like when that came up, I was like, yes, good job, movie.
Yeah.
Unnecessary to show, but great addition to still keep in the movie. To be true to the book.
Right. And I noticed that when the detective comes and talks to him, they stretch it out for 3 different scenes. Did you notice that?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. I kind of liked that because as a viewer, you were like, it gives you a little bit more suspense.
100%. That's how I was feeling too. And even after reading the book, like it kept that suspense because I was like, wait, they're changing something around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was interesting. I think all the changes that the movie really made was just good.
Yeah, yeah. It was overall just way more fun.
Yes.
Way more fun to experience.
100%. And it actually had me laughing out loud throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
Not just at the very beginning, and then I feel bad for the
Yeah,
rest of it.
oh my god, the beginning's so, like, it sets the tone so well. It's so funny.
Yeah.
And,
I'm
like,
glad that it started there. Like, it started at a completely different spot than the book did. Which I thought, like, just picked it up at the perfect situation.
yeah. And the card scene, of course. My favorite scene of the whole movie and book.
Yes, that was so funny. You could just see it change on his
Yeah,
face.
when he's
and
like holding
music.
the card. He's holding the card, he just drops it, and his face is sweating. And they're like, Patrick, you okay? He's like, I need to return some videotapes.
Yes, and he's like in the middle of work.
Yeah.
Or was that? Did he say the same thing while he was at work, and then Lewis came to, like, Lewis showed his card at a separate time. Which, first of all, was that the same way that it went in the book?
I think so, yeah.
I don't remember that.
I don't know if he showed his he might have shown his card. That's a little detail that I'm not sure, but he showed the card, and it was just so nice.
And
And then he's like, well, I gotta kill Lewis now.
Because I remember him wanting to do that in the book, but I don't remember why.
Yeah.
In the book. So it might have been from the... Anyways, yeah, that was so funny.
Yeah, the scene of Lewis coming on to him, too, is hilarious.
It made more sense seeing it played out than in the book. Because it was just like... I understand why Lewis didn't immediately freak out.
Yeah.
Well, in the book, I was like... He was literally, like, doing it. Like, he was almost killing you. And...
Lewis is like, I'm so for it. But, like, when he just...
he
just lifted up his glove and went, like, kissed his hand. This is so funny. The way he did it and everything.
Oh my gosh. We're like basically getting into spoilers.
Oh, yeah, we have been for a minute.
God, we're bad at this.
Yeah. I mean, these aren't like critical spoilers. I feel
honestly, this whole movie, I don't think you can really spoil unless you say the very end. But even then, I don't know. This isn't a movie you can spoil.
Yeah, because it's very up to interpretation. Like, after this, somebody's going to watch it. Yeah, somebody's going to watch it and be like, and they're going to pull all sorts of different things. Because the first time I've seen it a few times at this point. And the first time I watched it, I didn't know what it was about. I was very confused going in and, like, to what I was, like, going to witness. I thought it was going to be a serious movie. But then this absurd things were happening. And then, like, it doesn't really have... like a plot really, and you're like, I finished the movie and I was just like, what did I just watch? I don't even know if I liked that. Like I felt like it was poorly done because I thought it was supposed to be serious,
right.
And I wasn't like just letting the movie happen. But then like the second time around, I kind of understood it was like it's satire and whatnot. So then I watched it again. I was like, oh, this is funny. And then the third time around was when we watched it, and I like
right.
It's basically
the
just
context of the book too.
Yeah.
I feel like this kind of reminds me of Napoleon Dynamite. Because, like, a movie you can't really spoil. The first time I watched it, I was like, what is going on? Why do people enjoy this? And then the second time I was like, I get it now. Yeah. And it's just, what do you even spoil about that? You know? I feel like it's the same for this movie. It's still enjoyable. And the point is to look further into it. I don't know. Yeah. Like, everyone takes their own interpretation, so even if someone tells you exactly what they think, you could see it in a totally different way.
Yeah. So also something that I figured out after watching some of those reviews, basically like deciphering the message. So you know how at the end of the book when it says like, it ends with saying, oh, on this door it says this is not an exit. Mm-hmm. Apparently that's a callback to, I want to say, either a movie or book. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's a callback to that, and it's about these characters who are stuck in this room. It's basically their own personal hell, and they can't escape until they like redeem themselves. I think that's what it is. So they're in hell, and they can't escape. So that is like the metaphor for like Patrick Bateman. It's like he's stuck in it. he tried to confess, and he tried to like do everything, but he cannot break out of it because he's just stuck in the cycle.
Yeah.
So like this is not an exit; it's all very literal, in the sense where like he cannot exit his insanity.
Well, like, has he ever tried, like, just not thinking? I think he would get a lot further.
I do it every day. It's fantastic.
That's how I just cure everything. I just don't think about it.
You're
It's
just
like if he just thought about returning some videotapes and that's all he did, like he'd be golden.
It's so funny that like
Maybe the videotape store is heaven and he keeps saying, I need to return there, and he just can't do it.
yeah. I love that like in the book and the movie, he's just like he doesn't have to go to work. He doesn't. None of them like they're all and like you said, you saw the business cards now. So
all vice presidents.
they're all vice presidents, and they always are like, "Oh, I'm so busy. I'm always working," but they don't do anything when they're at their job.
Useless.
Yeah, they're so useless, and they just like literally the only work that we saw was like his receptionist taking calls and making reservations for like dinner with his friends. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I think, or it represents like the goal is to like have a job, but you don't have to do anything. Like to be paid to do whatever, but like that's not enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like people
well,
people
especially
get to that point and then they realize, hey, nothing's enjoyable because everything's so easy. And when you have that much money, you can just get whatever you want, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
Like it's nice to not have to worry about things, but you don't have to work for anything, and therefore you don't put value in
there's nothing to
anything.
strive towards.
Yeah.
What also is just like, well, especially if you're, she's so sweet. I saw her snoring.
Yeah, my dog's snoring. I hope it's not being picked up.
I hope it is. It's cute. But, especially when, like, all of these characters that are, like, working on Wall Street in this, like, it's supposed to represent that, like, they're materialistic. Like, their goal is money. And their goal is things and
the women's goal is to marry money.
Yep, and that's the whole goal. And I think it's showing that like there's the purposelessness, right? Purposelessness, yeah.
Purposelessness.
Yeah, purposelessness. It's showing like they don't have like a purpose other than acquiring wealth. So then, and when they try to enjoy that, they can't because like they're just. There's no reason behind anything.
And there's always something more. Like they want Dorsia and they don't get Dorsia.
Yeah, like Patrick Bateman's definitely making a good amount of money. Like could do like whatever the hell he wanted, but he just is stuck.
It's just status. And like there's you're always climbing the ladder. It's never good enough.
Yeah.
But that's all you strive for, and it's just not fun because you're never gonna reach that. That's a never-ending goal. And if that's all you're doing, you're not gonna enjoy life.
Yeah. No. Also, something that I mentioned in the last episode, where I was like, "Oh, I think Bret Easton Ellis worked on Wall Street." I don't think he did anymore. Because I watched interviews with him, and apparently,
he had a good paying job though. He didn't mention.
Yeah, there was something like that. I don't know if he was on Wall Street, but he was living like Patrick Bateman, not in the sense of like murders and whatnot. But you get the point. But
wait, not the. I thought that was the only thing he was doing. He he didn't have any money.
Well,
but
that's why he's so
got
detailed.
To murder people.
Yeah, that's why he's so detailed with everything. So yeah, but he was basically he wanted to write like a serious fiction book about some guy on Wall Street. And
has he ever heard of Wolf of Wall Street?
I guess not.
I don't know what I'm talking about. I've never seen the movie.
He wanted to write something about that, but then he said he was doing research by hanging out with these Wall Street guys, and basically he came to the conclusion after just observing them for however long, he's just like Patrick Bateman's a psychopath because like the way that he basically was just talking about like they were like so focused on what everybody was wearing, so self-involved, just like very misogynistic. Like he said that he's like. That's what made the story shift. And I wonder, like, I really do wonder this, because, like, maybe he was trying to write a fiction satire at first. It was supposed to be funny. But then, like, because you could tell the beginning portion is, like, pretty mild, and it's, like, kind of funny. And you don't know what you're getting into, but then it just flips. I wonder if he wrote it up to that point, and that's when he decided,
Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely see that. Because I feel like his first impression might not be that. I don't know. it scares me the thought that they like his first impression could have been where they're just like, oh yeah, and women they suck, by the way. But it's still scary that they like just through these interviews he was able to tell that much. Like they just hate women that much.
I
That
think
they
he was just
so,
hanging out with them, like trying to
just,
do research. Like that was like.
and they just bond over that. Like oh,
yeah,
that's
weird.
yeah, freaky.
But
I
the
mean,
fact that
all
he
of
just
it together, there was probably so much more.
it probably just left like that bad of a taste in his mouth. Like, have you ever seen? Oh, I think I might have shown you this, but there's this video of Robert Downey Jr. I don't know what this was for, but he goes into Wall Street, and then like it's like the place where they're looking at like all these stocks, like the fluctuations and whatnot, and like all these men are just like screaming and like being absolute animals. So like you could see Robert Downey Jr. They go in there, he's recording, or his camera crew's recording him, and he's just observing all this madness, and like Robert Downey Jr. just like absolutely like shits on all of them, like, and says like these are the most bothersome, most low IQ. Like he goes in, like he's just like I hate everything about that. He's like if money is evil, this place is hell. And like I think that's probably the reaction that Bret Easton Ellis had after shadowing them.
I mean, jumping back because I didn't really continue what you were saying seriously about you mentioning how this was like he was in his own personal hell. I mean, yeah, he probably saw that and I was like, wow, these people are trapped in like this hell of just money controlling everything, and there is no way out if you just continue down that path, and like you're kind of trapped when the only people you know are continuing this behavior and that's all you get exposed to, so you just continue doing that and one-upping, and it's like it's just this cycle. And when you're surrounding yourself with people like that, you're never going to get out. It's just
it's just like pointlessness.
Yeah, and I could totally see that like that ending referring to this hell, this his mind, because that's again another thing where if your mind's working against you, and he even admitted, he was like, wow, it's doing all these things and I don't know why, like I don't even feel like a person, I can't feel like how these other people do, and that's just how it is. There's no controlling that. It's like he was aware that that wasn't normal, and it almost felt like he just kind of didn't want to live like that, period. Like he didn't want to be doing these things, not trying to make it seem like I think he was an okay person, because he wasn't in any way, but he was slightly aware, and you could just tell that he just felt trapped, and there was no escape.
In the movie it's so funny too when Patrick's sitting there with I think Evelyn, and then he's just like, oh, I have to go to the office in the morning, and she's like, why do you even do that? Your father basically owns the company, you don't have to work. He goes, because I want to fit in.
It was so blatant, and that's not the way that it happened in the book. I think
no, he does say that. He does, yeah. I don't know if it's in the exact manner, but he does say that at one point. And then like Evelyn goes like, why? It might not have been Evelyn saying it. I think it might have been like Bethany or somebody, but he's just like, why do you do it? He's like, because
it was Bethany, yeah, that's right. Which Bethany was only mentioned in the movie. Yeah. In the phone call. But like, you thought that Bethany wasn't even like, I don't even know if they mentioned last episode, but.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, obviously that part wasn't really needed to be adapted.
Oh, no.
But like, I think they probably had the same, the people that made the movie
came to
probably.
the same conclusion.
Yeah, and they're probably just like, we don't really need this because we can apply that or imply this in other ways.
Because you thought it was a whole moment of psychosis.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so granted, I want to ask you this. Granted, Bret Easton Ellis said it's not important if it was psychosis or not. Do you think it was? Or do you think some parts were and some parts weren't?
I think it all was. I think this is all a mind kind of thing. Like, at least the movie. Well, I don't know. I was thinking this in the book too, but then the author's kind of like, it's not important. So then it kind of makes me backtrack. So I'm like, well, he didn't value it, so. But I think it's more fun to think of it like that.
Yeah,
like
or make theories and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's like, he said, like, him saying that, saying like, when I wrote it, it wasn't like important to me. I think that's his way, like, obviously of saying like, oh, like I've already said this, that like, oh, it's not important, like just don't stop hanging up on that. But at the same time, he can't outright be like, those theories are dumb, because then that just like stops a bunch of traffic,
Yeah.
like making his products popular.
Right. And at the same time, how could there not at least be some with the whole Paul Owen thing? But also, people are so dumb in this book. I mean, not literally, but they're so obsessed with like
No, they're pretty
status.
dumb. They're pretty dumb.
Yeah, they are. But that's not really the point I'm trying to make. They're so obsessed with status, where they're like, "Oh, is that so and so?" And like even Paul Owen thought that he was Market or whatever the name was. Like he never knew. And then at least in the movie, he was like, "Oh yeah, that Patrick Bateman dude sucks."
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, he's such a pushover." All this stuff. I'm like, "Oh."
They don't even know who they're talking about.
And then he doesn't even seem upset by it.
Yeah.
He's just like, "Oh, okay."
So like, these characters don't know anyone. Like they don't care to, and so honestly, the people that thought that they recognized him in London, who they could be thinking of anyone.
It could be anyone else. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's also kind of fun to think about, where he did do all these things, and like one of the things specifically in the movie that really made me laugh is he's like dragging this. It was Paul Allen.
Oh yeah.
He was dragging him out of the hotel.
And there's a trail of blood.
Bag. Yeah.
Did you notice how the trail of blood wasn't there, like in the next shot?
I did.
Yeah.
And so he's like dragging this body out, and then it was Lewis that came up, and he was
Lewis
like,
and Courtney.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh my God, where did you get that bag, though?"
Yeah, and he's just like, or like, what type of bag is that? And then he says it, and then he's just like, "Leave me alone."
And it's clearly has a body in it.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of funny to think about, like, no, that was literally happening. They just don't care.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I think maybe not in the book, or it could be, but like, you know how like there was that wave, or like a period in time where they're like, oh man, serial killers are kind of geniuses. And they're like, wow, they're like, they're not inhibited by empathy, so like they can just lie and cheat their way through life, and like we don't know the better.
Even though Patrick Bateman could not lie to save his life.
Yeah, no, I think that might be commentary on that, because like
I think so.
there was like that theory going around. They're like, wow, these psychopaths might have like an edge up, like super high IQs and whatnot, but in reality, well, yeah, and like like Dahmer, like it was just dumb luck that kept him out of prison.
Yeah, and it was just people that. And they pick victims that will specifically not ring bells and get attention brought to them. Like,
so it's probably, I think it was commentary on like, oh wow, like Patrick Bateman's like not smart, like he's not thinking anything through. He's just getting lucky.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, because it's actually like taking criminal justice classes. That's one of the first things they told me, and they're like, people think of them as this other breed, this like superhuman kind of like, where they're planning everything out and they're trying to outsmart everyone, when like absolutely not how it goes. There's a few people that just naturally had high IQs and then were also just psychopaths, but that is few and far between, just like there's people that have high IQs that are just like not psychopaths.
Yeah.
I don't know. And so
there's no correlation.
Right. And then a lot of it, like even Ted Bundy,
dumb luck.
Yeah, and it was stupid that he just was defending himself. That was just blatantly dumb.
Yeah, I mean, like the reason I understand that, like, I asked somebody who's like super into true crime. I'm like, what's the craze about Ted Bundy? I'm like, why is everybody so involved? They're like, well, just because he was attractive and charismatic. That's it. That's the only thing that people were like, oh wow, this guy's interesting.
Yeah.
And like, I guess people thought of serial killers as that.
Yeah.
From
100%. And I could totally see that being a commentary, because I picked up on those, like, oh my gosh, this is just stupid. Like, all you can do is laugh, because you know that it's just like he's getting lucky. And the whole police officer, like the PI, just giving him the information of like, well, actually, you were at this lunch and blah, blah, blah.
And he's like, oh, slipped my mind. He goes like, that actually got turned into a meme too, when like Willem Dafoe's like,
Yes, yeah.
It's like a GIF now.
Yeah, so it's just all was, yeah. There was no brain going on. There was
Yeah.
nothing clicking up there. He, I don't even know where I was going out. There's no brain clicking up here.
Yeah.
I would be.
There's no elaborate scheme,
Right.
very
He is
intelligent.
not. There's no plan.
Yeah.
Period. With anything. He also didn't even know when he was actually gonna kill anyone or not. Like
Yeah,
it just kind of would
just
happen.
went on a whim.
I think the only time it was planned was the Paul Allen thing because he had like the
Newspapers.
house.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, Paul Allen is the character in the movie, and Paul Owen is the same character but in the book.
Yeah, I don't know why that's a weird change. That is the only change where I'm like, why?
I don't
You know?
know either. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I guess Paul Allen has like a
Was it
ring-
supposed to
ring to
represent
it?
Woody Allen? Because he sucks.
maybe.
I don't know. I'm just pulling.
Maybe.
I have no idea why they changed that. I do like. No, I don't know. They both are just typical white straight male names.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I don't know why they changed that. It's just a little confusing.
It is, yeah, and that's the only change really. I thought the whole scene. Oh my god, I mean it's hilarious too because it's so absurd. Where he's running from the cops, having shootouts, and like when he shoots the cop car, it blows up. He goes, huh.
Yeah.
And then he runs into like the office building, goes through the door, and then he comes back out after the front desk guy's like, "Oh, look at you here so late," and he goes, "Bam!" He just runs
like that,
upstairs.
the janitor walks out and he's like, "Not gonna forget you." Shoots. It was crazy, and that's one of the things that I'm like, nah, this has to be psychosis.
Oh yeah, definitely that whole thing was.
I wish we saw a glimpse into a typical Thursday or whatever. That chapter, that was not
that is
in the movie.
oh my god, because it was so well written, so well done, and like
And it
it's
just
so
would cut to it randomly, like it was halfway through.
yeah.
Yeah.
Him trying to get the reservation
I know.
is so funny.
I do wish it included
It's kosher.
that.
It's kosher. We don't have that. We're kosher. He's like, give me a milkshake.
Because it also showed a little bit of a breaking point because he's ordering things that he definitely wouldn't order regular when he's with like these other guys. Like for example, when he met Paul Allen, for dinner, he picked like the wrong restaurant that no one was going to, and you could tell he was about to be so embarrassed, but he was trying to play it off.
Yeah.
And it's like, they hold that highly, so I wish it included it to show that like he's losing his mind, and he's like, I need a reservation, and he's like walking into a Wendy's basically. That would have been so funny.
It would have been hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
I wish they would have included the scene when they're talking about like Jack and Coke, and then he's just
yeah.
like, yeah, put a Pepsi in there, Diet Pepsi, and everybody's like, what? Why would you what?
Yeah, there was so many good lines. Oh, I think was the child of divorce. Was that a line in the book?
I think so. Yeah.
So funny.
But then like, and that was another thing that I was holding back in the last podcast. The change was like in the book you get to see his mom, his brother, who are just like those scenes.
Oh yeah.
I'm kind of glad they cut them because those scenes were so unimportant.
Yeah.
Like
I
nothing
never got
happened.
the brother. I never got that. I guess the only thing that the brother was brought in so that they could go to Dorsia. But I was like, nothing even came of that.
Yeah,
like,
no. Well, they just had pointless conversation. They were staring at the waitress. That was it.
Yeah.
Like.
And he was like, "Man, I hate this guy."
Yeah, he's just like me and my brother are
Yeah.
so different. I don't know. And then like that whole, and also they cut out the, him spending like the summer with Evelyn.
Mhm.
Which remember that one? He was like.
I don't even remember.
It was like a beach house.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like he
that was so unimportant. I barely remember
It was just weird. I remember there was one passage where he was talking about at night when like she went to bed, he would go out and like wander the beach and eat handfuls of sand.
That's right. Oh my god, that was the only funny part. I was like, what?
Yeah, and he's like, I got her a chow, and then she cared for the puppy for like 2 days and then lost interest, so I drowned it. I was like, what?
Yeah. Oh my god. that just, again, just crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just what?
the sand part, I laugh in the book when that was brought up. I laughed so hard.
Yeah.
He is a toddler.
Yeah.
He is so stupid.
He's like.
It's like you leave your toddler unattended.
Yeah.
Like,
He's just eating sand. And then he said he tried to cook a jellyfish and eat it.
oh my god. Right, he would eat brains.
Yeah. Oh,
Even
him?
though that would like literally kill you.
It was so gross when he was talking about like cooking some of the prostitutes, but then it was like he was talking about like grinding up the bones and putting them in like hamburger patties of the prostitutes, and he's just like halfway through he gives up because he's like, I've never cooked. I'm like, okay. It's so weird.
Those scenes I definitely thought were not real because I was like, it would stink. It would like.
Oh my god, yeah.
It just would not happen. I thought that all of that had to be psychosis, where he was just.
I just thought like. I didn't laugh in the moment of reading it because it was so grotesque and just awful. But like the fact that it ends with him going, I don't know how to cook. I'm like, okay.
So useless.
Yeah, like literally, just a waste of space, and he knows it. Well, actually, no, he doesn't know it. He's always trying to like put himself above each other, or above people when he sees them. He's like, well, they're useless. I'm better.
And he's like, I got a better haircut. So
yeah.
We go to the same barber, but I get the better cut.
Yeah.
Which he wasn't wrong. I'll give him that. He got the better haircut.
Still, it was just so basic, though.
Yeah. So, I did want to get into I didn't like how that sounded.
Okay, guys, so let's get into this.
I wanted to get into the music references.
Okay. Oh,
First of all, like, the fact that I like the call to the one band. It was something in the news crew. I can't remember. Or on
Phil
the
Collins?
news. No. It was like a band that was like something on the news. The news was in the name. Gosh, it was like one of the chapters.
Yeah. It was like right after.
Did a music review.
Right after he went on like a killing spree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just was like a whole chapter going that. Well, they brought that into the movie by like the detective just pulled out the album.
Yeah.
And then Patrick
Which is
Bateman.
so funny.
Yeah, that was just weird altogether. And then Patrick Bateman was like, never heard of them. I don't like them. They're too much like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, he just lies about the weirdest things.
Yeah.
And like the most random, like, you could just.
Yeah.
It's
and
so
like.
funny because you could tell.
Oh, yeah, no. I think that whole part, the reason he was pressed was like, he's like, oh, he has better music taste than I do. And I have to undermine him.
He would lie about the randomest things. Like, he did that in the book. He would just lie about what he was doing, even though he wasn't doing anything bad. He was like, oh, I stayed home. But then he would tell Evelyn, I returned videotapes, and I also met so-and-so.
Yeah.
Why? It was just so random. And then the other way that they brought the music in, instead of him just, like, explaining it and that was it, like, he just would give his music reviews to, like, his victims. And then he'd just talk about it, like, consistently, and you could tell they were bored, and it was so funny.
Yeah,
Every time he would just break into, like, this 10-minute monologue about why he loved that band.
And then, yeah, like, everybody's disinterested. I think that's such a good touch, that he's doing it in the middle of, like, interacting with people, and you get to see the people's reactions, because it's, like, kind of us as the reader, or, like...
I'm so glad that they brought that in.
Yeah.
It was like the one thing he cared about.
Yeah.
I feel like the only thing he had passion in.
Yeah,
and it was so random.
The one scene where Gene comes in while he's listening to his Walkman, he's like... he's just doing that. He's just so into the music. And then, like, he's like, just say no.
The Walkman, I get why it's like a meme.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, but that was like, I think, my favorite part about the movie that they carried over. Because it was so funny. It was so just like lighthearted, but like classic Bateman. He
Yeah.
absolutely would do that and then just not care. Oh my gosh.
Did I ever tell you I had to do an album review for like my creative writing class? I
No.
had
What
to.
album did you pick?
I picked Ballads by a Joji
Oh,
one. Yeah.
okay. You didn't pick the Wiggles?
Nah, not the Wiggles.
That's next time.
If
That's
you
your
talk
that's your
to tomatoes.
dissertation.
Wait, is that the Wiggles?
I don't know. You're the one that's writing the dissertation about
I'm
it.
sorry.
Like,
Wait.
what? You're supposed to be telling me.
You're right. But the whole monologues with him talking about like the album reviews, it kind of like it reminded me of how bored I was with that assignment.
Oh, really?
Even though I loved those, like I love that album, I was just like I don't want to talk about it for 1,500 words.
I can kind of see that. I don't know. I wrote like a 7-minute speech about one painting, where I just like went in. So like, I don't know. I like those are the assignments I like, but there's a ton of other things, and I'm like, I would not like to write about this.
I mean, out of all the writing assignments, that was one of the ones where I was like, oh, I love this.
Yeah.
Like I do enjoy doing reviews. Like I did like a whole.
But it is hard when that's a decent amount of words.
Yeah.
To be fair. I don't think mine like word length was that long.
Right.
By any means.
Like all the creative writing ones where I had to do like a short story, it was like we did it by like double spaced like page length. So like it would have to be, or I think the limit was like the sweet spot was like has to be at least 5 pages, and then at most like 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then like it was hard to, it was all of us found it kind of hard to like keep it within 10 pages because we wanted to go a little bit over. And there's a few ones where I went like 12 pages and didn't seem to care. But yeah, anyways, we're really off track. Album reviews, not my favorite thing to write.
I don't know. That was the only speech, the one about the art, that was the only speech I went overtime.
Really?
Yeah, and then I got 30 points off out of 100.
Really?
For going, it was like less than 15 seconds over too. It was like a 5 to 7 minute, and I was like 7:14, and he might have stopped 30 points. And I got a 70.
Jeez.
Yes.
That's
That was
a
the
tough
only
grader.
thing too. I hated that class.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, wow, the one thing I was excited about.
Yeah.
His grading
The one
was
thing
way
you
too
show
strict.
passion for, they're like,
Yeah. I like hate public speaking.
oh
I think
yeah. Me
actually
too.
it was one speech. It was I never had an issue with it until my very last speech, and I just wasn't having a good day, and then I let that carry into the speech, and it just like ruined it in my, I don't know, 10th, 11th grade class. And then I was forced to take like public speaking because of my major, which I'm not even majoring in anymore. That was the first like semester in college, and I wanted to die every time I was in that class.
I told you about having to read part of my story for like the school magazine.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I hated that.
It's
Oh my god.
hard.
And I ended up reading over my time too.
Yeah, it sucks.
It's so annoying. And like there was parts in the story where I had to curse for the dialogue, and then there was kids there, and I wound up to it twice, and I was like,
You get in your head about these. Yeah, I hate public speaking, and it's not even like because of the crowd. I just overthink what I'm saying, and I lose track, and then I forget everything.
yeah. I don't.
It's really embarrassing.
For public speaking, I like to do like bullet points, and then I kind of go off the fly. I do the best with it. I can't read like off a script.
No, I can't either, because the second I mess one line up, if it's like written out, the second I mess one line up, I mess the rest of the speech up.
Oh yeah.
Because I think about, oh wow, I'm not getting my point across because I messed that one line up, which is not true at all. But I'm just like, I ruined this.
Yeah, my eyes go faster than my mouth.
Yeah.
That's my biggest
same.
issue.
Yeah, same.
Oh wow, we are so off topic.
Anyways,
My album reviews.
that was our writing review.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we just gave you a little like sense of Patrick Bateman's conversations where you guys don't care, but we just continue to talk anyways.
Exactly.
No, I think there's like not that much to say. Well, okay, we could go into a lot of theories, like a lot, but overall, we love the movie. Highly suggest it. At least
Yeah.
I do. And we would love to hear what you guys think because it is like kind of a community. Like a, there's so much we could do
Yeah.
or so much we could talk about with the community and just bounce
Yeah.
back and forth.
There's also a toxic part of the American Psycho community that's like,
yeah.
with the memes and everything, they were like, oh, I think Patrick Bateman's actually cool, and I think he's a return to traditional values, and I really admire his work ethic and attention to detail, and that those people suck. But
yeah,
the
I don't
people,
even get how you can think like that when it's
Yeah.
so obvious that you're not supposed to like him. But
yeah.
there's like a lot that I think we could expand on, but we don't.
Yeah.
We've kind of
His
expanded
work-
on our theory. Actually,
And also, his work ethic is non-existent.
Oh,
It doesn't
yeah.
work.
yeah, he's was born into money.
yeah, he's the worst.
Yeah. I never did ask, actually. I guess let's loop around and then finish it off. But did you
Okay.
think that it was psychosis? Like, how much did you think was playing? Because I kind of said, I think it was all in his head. I think that's the point, is he's just trapped in his mind. And it's just this ever going, like, hell because of the things that he wants to do, but he also has to act normal.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is all the killings at least are in his head, but what I kind of think is like this is a universe where like all those like everything is happening, but like none of them have consequences. Like he is stuck in some sort of weird alternate reality.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it is, or like
So,
some
like,
sort
he
like
could
a literal
literally
hell.
be in hell.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it. Probably the
That's
closest.
interesting.
The closest theory to what Bret Easton Ellis, I can align.
Attended.
But if I didn't hear him say that, I would have been like, okay, some of the killings are real. Like, the homeless people, just the random people on the street, real. But like, as far as like the prostitutes and like the random women, not real.
That's interesting.
And
Because when
Paul
I
Allen.
first read it, when I first read it, I thought the opposite. I thought the homeless people weren't. I thought Paul Allen was until the very end. But I still was like, I feel like they're just... Until the police officer or the private investigator said, no, I just saw him in London, I thought that the people that spotted him beforehand... Or sorry, the private investigator didn't say that. His lawyer did.
Yeah.
That they met for lunch. Until that, I thought, oh, those other people, like, were just doing the same thing that every other character was doing. Like, oh, is that Ivanka Trump? Is that
Yeah.
so-and-so? Like...
Well, it still could have been. Like,
Yeah.
he said he had lunch with them, but he had...
Yeah, again. So, like, I was bouncing between that being real, but I thought it was, and I thought most of the prostitutes are real until he was like... There was one that I thought was fake. Or the Bethany, I think it was, because then he just, like, never disposed of her body.
Yeah, well, no, and then also earlier in the chapter it talks about like, oh yeah, she was dead in college. I killed her and did this.
I never picked up on that, but then, like, the next chapter when he was like, oh, she's still chilling at my house, I was like, you just left her there?
Yeah.
Like, he said that he just left her on the floor. I don't know. I just didn't. And it was the Dorcia thing that really set me off. Because, like, of course she would be dating the chef and co-owner of Dorcia. Okay.
Yeah, I think the whole interaction in the book, at least with her, didn't happen.
Yeah. So that was that and the homeless people I thought weren't real. And then the rest I thought was. And then now I'm like, I kind of think.
I think the homeless people is the only case that you could make that it was real. Because he did that brutal thing to that guy with the dog. But
And
then
then
again
called
at the end, you could see him and he's like all scarred and blind. And his
What if
dog
he
is
always was, though?
Exactly,
and
yeah.
then he just never commented on it because that just wasn't what he was focused on at the moment, like at first. But he always was like a veteran or something. I mean, I know
Right.
it said that what if he always had those wounds, but then Patrick Bateman imagined himself giving those wounds to the homeless person.
Right, yeah, that's just as possible.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I think
so
I think it's literally like hell. Like this is a different universe where like he is just stuck in like hell, basically. Yeah.
What if it's all the only people that are ever mentioned are all people that he killed, and then they're all torturing him now?
Yeah, that's a good theory too.
There's so many things.
Yeah, you can make a lot of theories. That's why it's a fun movie.
Yeah, it is.
And book too. Like the book, and I think the author even said too. Like he, you know, obviously I think he was financially happy that the movie got adapted because obviously he got paid a lot. But he said that like the medium isn't the best for the story just because like in the book you don't really have to be demanded answers. Like this is his words. I think I kind of disagree. But he said in the book medium, you didn't have to demand or like it wasn't necessary that you gave answers. But like in the movie, you have to give answers. Like it kind of implies.
Yeah.
But I think I don't necessarily agree with that take. I think just the way they shaped the movie kind of made the answers seem like
more available.
Yeah, like more to the forefront.
Visible.
Like you need them because to like the plot point a lot of the time was like, is this actually happening, or is he gonna get caught?
Yeah, it made it up front. It was very
Yeah.
forward at the beginning, so you had that in your mind, but like you only slightly picked up on it towards the middle, and then at the end you're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
And you get no resolution.
Yeah, and then like you can kind of see in the background where like it has on the door it says this is not an exit.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they both did its own job. I think they were both really good. I highly suggest the movie. Don't suggest the book, even though it was still very like. It was a good.
Don't expect to enjoy yourself.
Right. It was.
Yeah.
A good piece of work, but it's not enjoyable. Well, like the movie, you actually can. And even if you listen throughout all of this, I still highly suggest the movie because it literally doesn't. I don't know. I feel like it doesn't matter. I would watch this again and still like probably see all these sorts of different things that I never picked up on.
Right. So I went back and watched PewDiePie's book review on it.
Really?
Yeah, and his review was alarming. Cause like he was like, oh, it's hilarious. Like that's like he's just like it's so funny and it's dark. I'm like, okay, yeah, he touched on it that it was dark, but he's also like, it was scary how much you can relate with Patrick Bateman. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Like,
yeah.
like
Wait
he said that. He said that. And
well, he did get into that controversy, and we know Patrick Bateman is not very fond of a certain type of person.
Yeah, but like he was. Like that's what misled me about this book so much because like he was the first person.
Yeah, you think it's supposed to be relatable.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, what?
And then you go into it and you're like I was so thrown off because I was like, this is supposed to be funny. I thought, and it is, but like,
but then
sparse moments.
Thinking that it's supposed to be relatable.
Yeah, I was like.
Who?
You should watch that. You should watch that book review.
Yeah, actually, I am gonna watch it now. I mean, he does have money, which we don't have. So
yeah, maybe he felt that's why what made him disconnect from the rest of us. So he's like relatable.
Well, maybe
he said he was likable too. I'm like, what?
Absolutely not.
Like at points he's likable. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, oh my god.
I could maybe see the relatable part where like you can feel trapped because money, money is evil. Period.
Yeah.
It, of course, is very helpful in this kind of society.
Yeah.
Because not having money is just as bad.
Yeah.
But it is evil, so like that's the only part where I could see like he relates because he has a ton of money and he's like, oh, this doesn't make me happy. This isn't making Patrick Bateman happy. But likable?
Yeah, no,
I don't
okay,
think
that's
so.
like it really.
That's too far.
It threw me off so bad because I genuinely do like PewDiePie. Like I appreciate like when he'll do book reviews and stuff. Like that's where I got a lot of suggestions, and I was like, oh, like I value his opinion. But like that, going back and listening to that, I was like, what are you on? Like
yeah. I don't. Yeah.
He definitely picked up that it was a satire though, and he gave like an accurate kind of rating on it. I think like he's like because he recognized that it was good, but like just talking about Patrick Bateman being likable or relatable, that like he said both of those things, and I'm like, what are you on? Like I don't know. That kind of left a bad taste in my mouth for him.
I'm gonna watch this and see. I don't like that.
Yeah, but we should watch this right. We should watch it right after we're done. I want to show it to you.
Let's end this so we.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is really all that we have to say. We're not trying to. let's clarify. We're not trying to throw him under any sort of.
No, I still like him. That really kind of, I don't know.
Don't know how you could get to that take,
Yeah,
but
yeah, it's
to
a
each
take.
their own. We don't know what he related to and what he found like.
Yeah,
Maybe he just liked the music, bro.
Yeah, he didn't clarify. So I mean, maybe it was like the money thing.
Yeah. And maybe he just liked the music. Because actually, him describing music was very interesting.
Yeah.
As someone that likes seeing music reviews from an individual person, and I feel like it kind of was like the author speaking through that too.
It definitely was.
I found that very interesting because I was like, oh my gosh, he's like so detailed about it.
Yeah, and it was like a thorough and like, well, the fact that he was recognizing like, like you think of Patrick Bateman as like, obviously this emotionless psychopath, but then like his passion for the music, you're like, what's going on there?
Yeah.
It's
That
just
was
like
relatable.
how can you feel emotion in this music when you can't feel it anywhere else?
The scene where he had the Walkman
Yeah.
on, relatable.
He's just listening to it with his eyes closed, just like, oh yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think that's all we had to say. Comment down below what your take of the movie is, or the book if you read it. And that's it. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Deuces.
I gotta return some videos.